I've always wanted to do a show with drag artists who have different styles, backgrounds, and views. A show where they can tell their story their way. And in a perfect world, I join in on the conversation. This is that show. We call it Exposed. Hi, everyone. My name is Joseph Shepard, and welcome to Exposed. This is the show where we chat with all of your favorite queens. Now, today, I am joined by a legend in her own right. You may know her from Canada's Drag Race Season 2 or a little show called Canada's Drag Race versus the World.
A tiny stint on Canada
A tiny
versus
stint.
the World.
Hey, you know what? But you were there.
True, T.
You were there.
Optimism. I love it.
She's the people's princess from coast to coast. It is Kendall Gender. How are you doing?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm so excited.
Yay, I'm excited too.
I was researching you. I was looking into everything into your life, and congratulations first and foremost on your engagement.
Oh, thank you.
That's
thank
exciting.
you so much. I know I'm about to be a married woman. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. You're gonna be knocking off all the people who love your thirst trap.
Oh my God. No, there's still
There's
enough
still
of
gonna
that
be
to
those.
go
Okay,
around,
okay.
honey.
Okay.
That's not gonna stop. You know, honestly, marriage and that sort of long-term commitment was never really something that I thought I was gonna do until I met my current partner. And there was just something really, I don't know, monumental and sort of valuable about our relationship. And the sort of sanctity of marriage means a lot to her. So when it kind of came up, we were going on 5 years, I was like, I think it's time.
Yeah.
This just feels right. Actually decided that I was going to propose while I was away for Canada versus the World. Because I just had so much time alone.
Yeah, you were thinking all in the hotel room.
I was, and I missed her so much, and I just missed what we had, and I proposed a few weeks after.
But that's so exciting, and I feel you on that because until I was with my current partner that I'm with now, we just hit 5 years.
Ooh, congrats.
Thank
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
A gay milestone.
It really is. It really is. I never really thought about it. I was yeah, sure. But I always looked at the fantasy Disney movies. I was always I'm going to be the prince and the princess is going to do whatever. And then literally it was no, you're gay. Bam.
Well, you can still be a princess, babe. I mean, look at my
you.
delusional
Yes.
ass.
I mean, hey, but it works. It works. I want to talk all about your relationship, kind of in chronological order. So we're going to start with your actual self. Let's start with when you were born and raised in where? British Columbia?
Yeah. Vancouver. Well, Richmond, technically, if we're getting really, really specific in BC.
Is that what
It's
were
actually the
town?
city that the airport is in.
Okay.
Yeah, really, really, really interesting place.
So what would that be like for those who don't know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a smaller town, obviously outside of Vancouver, a suburb, if you will. And growing up, I sort of was instantly fabulous right out the gate. I was definitely always one of those people. I would wear my mom's dresses, and I remember she would buy me dresses, and then I would put them on, and whenever I would wait till my dad gets home, I would immediately take them off. But my mom was very supportive of that sort
That's
of
nice.
eccentricity, if you will. So yeah, I mean, because it was a suburb, I think this is a really linear line for a lot of queer people. I felt kind of different than everyone else. I sort of experienced what I like to describe as dislocation, where I was born into an environment that I did not feel the same as. And it turned into different things for me. I need a different outlet.
Yeah. Well, expressing yourself as a child.
Mm.
How were you as a child?
I honestly was very similar to how I am now. I was very outgoing. I wasn't really into doing sports and all of that kind of stuff, but I was into theater and all that kind of stuff. And I actually really liked doing public speaking.
Really?
That's actually something that I did at a very young age. For some reason, my parents put me in public speaking in the second or third grade, and I did I was the grade 7 public speaking person for our elementary school. But yeah, I've just always kind of liked talking, I guess.
Okay. Well, that's why you're here to expose
Yeah, I mean,
more
it really
talking.
works, right?
It does. So you are growing up, and I know when I was researching you, you have talked a lot about addiction, and you've talked a lot about those years in your life, and you recently, I guess it was the end of last year, you're helping out with a sober program in Canada.
Yeah, I'm actually on the board of directors for Canada's very first LGBTQ2SIA plus treatment and recovery center, which is, it gives me chills just like thinking about it because I'm
Hmm.
coming up onto 9 years sober now,
Wow.
in October. And when I was getting sober, it was such a isolating experience for so many reasons. And a lot
Mhm.
of my addiction was really based around my, queer identity and trauma around that. So to go into treatment and not feel comfortable,
Mhm.
it's very dangerous.
Mhm.
So I'm really, really, really excited that it's getting off the ground. I was actually lucky enough to go to one in LA the last time that I was here. That is a queer treatment facility, and it's a little bit more common in the States,
Mhm.
which is great. But we need it in Canada.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really
Um,
exciting.
I do want to ask you when it came down to, substances and stuff, when I was coming out and when I was trying to figure out who I was as an individual, I would go to alcohol. I would go to things because I would feel more myself, or I would feel more like, oh, I can actually express myself and not have to have all this anxiety. What was it for you?
I think as queer people in like a lot of years, we really associate the coming out experience with nightclubs, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in Canada, or when we turn 19 and here 21, a lot of time the first place that we go is like out to the bars and we sort of meet people in our community in that sense. So it's really interlaced into a lot of queer identity. So for me it was, just like the next person, I started going out and it really just like spiraled out of control
Mm-hmm.
really quickly, because I was really using drugs and alcohol to numb a level of confusion and traumatic things that had happened, and it just completely went way further than it should have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that everyone is like that, but people that are addicts are like that. I'm an addict through and through. Like I'm addicted to everything, even to this something that I still work on now. I'm addicted to drag
Yes.
in certain ways, right? And it's still something that I work on to this day.
Would you say that there was a pivotal moment that turned you into becoming sober? Was there a moment that happened, or did people tell you something, or what was it that led you to that?
For me, it was a really quick downward spiral, to be honest with you. When I started using really hard drugs, a lot of the elements of my life basically started to fade away.
Mhm.
I was about to get fired from my job. I got kicked out of my apartment. All of my friends had isolated me. I, lost the relationship that I was in. I had to move back in with my family. And it was a really dark place for me,
Mhm.
and actually ended up going to the emergency room one night. And it was the next morning that both my parents, who are divorced, so for them both to
To
get
get
together
together,
was
yeah.
at 20, how old was I? 25 at the time. And for them to both get together, they basically were just like, it's time. Like, enough is enough. Like, you
Mhm.
have only a couple of options here. You're either going to die, go to jail, or get sober. Luckily, I chose the third
Yeah.
one. And here we are today.
Here we are today, and did drag come after that, or did it come before?
It actually came before.
Okay.
So I had started to do drag, and sort of go out in that sense. But in the beginning stages of my drag, I really do believe that I was using it kind of as like a mask to my bad behavior.
Mhm.
Because it was like, oh, Kendall's so crazy. Oh my God, she's a party girl. And it was an excuse to go out more.
Yeah.
So when I got sober, I actually stopped doing drag for quite a few months, and I really thought that I would be like totally done with it. When I first got sober, I like inverted everything on my life. So I was like, wearing Lululemon all the time. I started to date like a financial advisor. I had a personal trainer. I like really was living my like white woman fantasy, and then after a few months, I was like, no, I can still have this creative outlet, but just in a more healthy way.
Mhm.
And stepping back onto the stage as a sober person I will remember it for the rest of my life. It was like so pivotal for me because it was such a, I don't know, connection of like everything that I loved in my life and
Mhm.
everything that had brought me joy. And I just felt so uplifted in that moment. And yeah, drag honestly like saved my like life in a lot of ways, like mentally and physically. So yeah,
That's
I love
good.
drag. Number one fan of drag, honey.
You're like, that's my new addiction. And
Yeah,
that's,
a little bit more healthy.
yeah, a lot
Yeah,
more healthy, I
yeah,
would
yeah.
say. So you're doing drag. Do you remember your first performance?
I do. It was to Beyonce's Ring the Alarm.
Okay.
So some things have changed and some things haven't. And I remember I was like kind of mad at this guy that I was seeing, and he had like come to the show. And I was like really giving it to him. I had a chair, I had like a trench coat, red lingerie. It was a whole thing. I would love to see a video of that, but that was 10 years ago. So
Well,
people
we're
were.
no, I'm kidding.
I would love that. I would love that. No, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like, not to like age myself, but
Yeah.
social media was a bit different. Like they weren't like, you weren't popping on
Yeah.
stories as much. But I don't even know if there is a video of that, but it lives forever in my mind.
I would love to see that. US Drag Race comes around. Had you watched a lot of the seasons of US? Were you an avid watcher?
Yeah, I would say so. I started watching in season 6.
Okay.
I was actually in an Adore Delano music video.
Which one?
Party. Yeah.
Was that the dun dun? Is it like she's outside and like the
Yeah, it's
party
like
dress and everything?
it was actually filmed in Vancouver. So I was like an extra in it. Know your history. Go watch it now. I'm wearing a green like football jersey. And that was actually the first time I ever went out in drag because she invited us like out after the video shoot. And obviously I was obsessed with Adore Delano. Still am to this day,
Yes.
as everyone is. Such an icon. And I actually went out in drag after that shoot for the first time ever. So that's kind of was like my first introduction into like, yeah, US Drag Race and that. And that's really when I like fell in love with it.
That's so cool.
So it was so cool when it came to Canada.
Yeah.
Because I really, really didn't think that it ever would. Especially when I became a professional drag queen, I was like, oh, Drag Race as like an entity only sort of like lives in the US. So it's like amazing what we're dealing with right now.
So what made you apply for season 2?
Well, I applied for season 1 too, honey.
Okay, you did, okay.
And I didn't get on. But I think it all worked out exactly the way it was supposed to. I was just ready. I was kind of in a precarious place in my life. I was actually in school getting my degree, and I was like, thinking I was going to step away from drag, kind of. And then Canada's Drag Race came out, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to like throw my hat in the ring and see.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't work the first time, but it ended up working the next time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take a semester off of school. And now here we are. College dropout, honey. Cross-dressing. And yeah, it just, I don't know, whoever the creator or, whatever in the universe had other plans. So here we are.
Where were you when you got the phone call?
Oh, I was in my house.
Okay.
It was in like crazy COVID times. So it was a really like weird time to even think about doing Drag Race because so many things were closed. All the like fabric stores were closed. Everything was closed. I was like in my house for like weeks on end. So when I got that call, it was like such an overwhelming moment. And I just like burst into tears.
Did you tell everybody?
No, but my partner was in the
Yeah.
My partner was in the apartment. And she updated her phone since then. And it's like a little bit of a point of contention because she recorded me getting the news. And I was like, that's the cutest thing ever. And it's lost forever.
No.
It's literally lost forever. Yeah. She was doing like a clean out of her phone. And she's like, I think I deleted it. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
So you get on to Canada's Drag Race season 2. You walk into the workroom. Did you know any of the other girls?
I did, actually. Yeah. I feel like the Canadian drag scene is a little bit more interlaced. There's only, a handful that are like at a specific level. And I feel like we all kind of know each other. So I knew a majority of them, but I wouldn't say every single one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, I knew my Vancouver sisters for sure. And then I knew Pythia. Yeah, I knew a couple of them sort of like here and there.
And you were in the Brat Pack before Canada's Drag Race.
Yeah.
So when you get on and your fellows are with you.
Ooh, the drama.
The drama.
It's almost like they planned it.
I also love that they planned it and then they slowly touched on it in like the first episode and then it was like gone.
I agree, yeah.
They were like,
Yeah.
we have this story point, but we're not going to use it.
Very that energy. Yeah, I mean, it was so cool to be there with my sisters because so much of my drag career had actually been with Brat Pack. like we did a weekly show together for 5 years in Vancouver. Shout out to the Junction. And yeah, so to be able to kind of take it to that next level was so cool. Like they're two of my closest friends, like in and out of drag. So it was like very, very, very special.
That would be so cool. And then I would feel like if I walked in, I would not know anybody and everybody else would know everybody. And I'd be like, oh, this is my luck.
I think, to be honest, I think that comfortability had its ups and downs, if I'm honest with you. I think that there was a little bit more of a target sometimes on the like group dynamic, because they were like, oh, well, of course they're going to defend each other through and through and through. And also it sometimes it's hard to, shine on your own and also want to shine on your own.
Oh, is that a plug for a song that you have?
Shine. That was good, actually. Yeah. Wow, professional. Hey. But yeah, sometimes it was an interesting sort of like dichotomy between us, because like we obviously are competing, but also we're friends. So it was interesting.
What was it like watching season 1 and you see Stacey McKenzie, you see Jeffrey Boyer Chapman, and then season 2 comes around and it gets kind of switched. You have Brad Goreski and you have Tracy Melchor,
yeah,
and then
Amanda Brugel.
Yes. Okay. So did you go in expecting the original 3?
I did, actually. And we had one runway that was a Canadian TV icon, and I actually chose Stacey McKenzie as my person. Trying to get that favor, honey.
Yes.
And I also just love her. But so it was definitely an unexpected twist. I was really gagged to see Brad Goreski there, because I obviously watched like that Rachel Zoe show that he was on so many years ago. So it's so cool that he's like kind of in my zeitgeist now.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's super, super cool.
I feel like the judges on Canada's Drag Race are a little bit more involved with you.
I agree with that, yeah.
I could see Brooklyn or Brad or whatever, like showing up to a gig of yours. I could see it kind of being more of a friendly family vibe. Yeah. Whereas, if it's Michelle and Rue, I feel like, it's a little bit of a different situation. Have you had a good relationship with Brooklyn and Brad and everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially Brooklyn, she is so like the mother hen to all of us. And, even to this day, she'll literally like DM me and she'll be like, good or bad, she'll be like, I don't think you should do your makeup like that. You should switch the inner corner of your da-da-da-da-da. And like, it's just so nice having that relationship. And obviously she'll give the other side too, like, oh, you look so good here. And it's been so cool to like actually be able to hang out with her outside of the show and sort of like, cultivate a relationship. She's a really, really, really big powerhouse, obviously in the whole Drag Race franchise, but like, especially within Canada, just like the idea that she literally brought it to all of us. We're so thankful, and she's amazing. I really like cherish that we have a connection.
That's so good. She's so amazing. She's so great.
I know. And like it's funny actually, like me and Juicebox were like talking about like the outfits that we copy from her. Cause like we'll get like exact things made, and I'm like, oh, you got that Brooklyn dress made? She's like, yeah, I did. It was like a less hot version of hers.
You had a pretty iconic season. You had a lot of girls on there who I think were all amazing in their own right. I guess my one question is that I had an issue with in your season was the lighting.
I mean, okay.
Did you
speak on it?
Did you feel that when you were there, or did you feel like the lighting was proper when you were there? I know that's a really random question.
It's not random. You are like the millionth person that has said this. I didn't notice it when I was there, for sure.
Okay.
I think that it's definitely something that has been fixed.
Okay.
I noticed a difference on Canada versus the World.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes, that was different.
Yeah, I think because it was a newer production. Obviously, there is some kinks that need to be worked out. It's just tough when you have people of all different skin tones.
True.
Right? And
True.
Certain lighting and photography and all that kind of stuff just doesn't work for everyone. So definitely something that needed to get massaged out.
You won the roast challenge.
I did.
How did that feel? Did you know that you had comedy chops in you?
No, I mean, the public speaking thing that we were kind of talking about before, I was like, I feel like I would like to do this, but I didn't know whether I would actually be good at it or not. And obviously I had been in the bottom the week before so badly. Design challenge, not my go-to. So I was like, one of two things are going to happen. Either I'm going to continue to flop and get eliminated, or I'm just going to like let it all go and try and soar. And like, I was so happy that that happened. And I felt very confident in that week and in that
Mhm.
setting. And I was just having so much fun. And I love hosting events. And I just kind of like, for the first time in that competition, I think I took the element that I was on Drag Race away from it. I kind of
Oh.
walked into it. I was like, I am a good drag queen. I'm a fun drag queen. I can host a drag show.
Yeah.
And let's just do it.
Yeah.
You know, whereas before, I think everyone is their own worst critic, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. But I think my anxiety issues got in the way sometimes.
Mhm.
Especially even on like Canada versus the world, where like I get really stressed out, and like just being in that environment, I was like, ah. But like that moment, I look back on it very fondly, and I'm very, very, very proud of that because I really saw myself coming through. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, and that's a cool thing to realize. And then did you watch it back?
I did, yeah, we did viewing parties.
Yeah.
I actually was lucky enough to do it in Vancouver.
Oh, that's
That I
awesome.
chose that week specifically. And like my family was there, my like community was there. Yeah, I like burst into tears when it
Oh.
happened. It's so cool.
Have you watched back more than once?
My season,
Uh-huh.
no,
No.
no. I only watched it like when it was airing. I've seen like clips,
Yeah, yeah.
but not the whole season. No, I don't. I think I will eventually.
Mhm.
But I feel like I want some like time to pass,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense.
And like you kind of fly really close to the sun
Yeah.
with it. So yeah, I think maybe in like a few years I will sit down and watch it. Definitely that episode I will watch.
You start with that one.
I mean, yeah. It only gets better.
So shortly after your stint on Canada's Drag Race, which you did make, I will say, a second place, a third place, whatever they want to say that it is
Top three,
technically.
honey.
Top three.
We'll call it that. Some
I
of the
will
girlies get mad when it says runner up. Some of the Pythia stands.
Really?
Yeah. Which like no shade. I love both of them
Yeah.
so much. So we'll say top three. I'm a comfortable top three, honey.
You go on a little show called Canada's versus the World. And from what I read, you were called last minute.
I was actually, yeah. I was a alternate.
Okay.
Yes. So I was I had time to prepare my package and do that kind of stuff, but it wasn't guaranteed that I was going to be on the show.
Okay.
It was kind of an up in the air thing. And it's very common in Drag Race to have alternates throughout seasons. It's just a thing that is done obviously in like production. So when they called and asked, I have a very good relationship with like the producers of the show and the casting people. When they called and asked, I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that's gonna happen? Gonna go home first? No, but like I didn't even know if I was gonna get on the show, right? Like I basically found out Friday night and we went to camera on Monday.
Wow. And
I
you had
left
already
on
had your
Tuesday.
package ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
I think in retrospect, if I had known I was going to be on the show, I think I would have maybe planned the looks a little bit differently because I was trying to get looks that I could still use if I wasn't going to be on the show. So, I mean, hindsight is 2020. But it is what it is. But I feel like yeah, I would have done them a little bit more like Drag Race ready as opposed to just like stuff I could vibe in. But shit happens.
Do you think you should have gone home first?
I think my runway was on the lower end for sure. I didn't execute it the way that I wanted it to. So I think point system in that way, I do understand. But I don't think that my performance was bottom enough. In my opinion. And I watched it back many times. I think my verse was actually good.
Your verse was good.
I think my verse was good. I feel like it's like a thing. And I feel like I was vibing and I'm like, they can, I mean, you can choose any moment to fixate on, of course,
Yeah.
and I understand that. But the performance, no. The runway, yes. And, it's kind of how they weight it.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends on how they weight it. So, yeah.
What did you feel in that moment?
That was probably one of like the lowest moments in my like life, to be honest with you. I was really, really, really struggling for a bit after that. Yeah, I was I was in a really, really dark place. Especially like going back to the hotel. Obviously, it's reality TV, so they
Hmm.
take everything away from you, and like phones and all of that kind of stuff. And I was just so upset with myself. I was
Mm.
so disappointed. I felt like I had let myself down. I had let like my fans down. I had let everyone down, like my city, my country. And I just like, it took me a while to get out of that, to be honest with
Hmm.
you. It was one of those moments in my life where I was like, I just feel very confident in what I do. And I am very proud of the career that I've developed and,
Hmm.
and the stuff that I get to do and the work that I get to do. And it felt in that moment like I had ruined everything, you know? Makes me sad to like think about
Well,
it,
it's
like
not even, that's
to
not a
go
good
back
feeling.
there.
Yeah.
It was a really, really, really sad feeling. And I think that I just like I had so many regrets and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I should have planned better. I should have done this better and da 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 da." And it's just like it was yeah, it was not my happiest moment for sure.
Hmm.
Um but I am a believer and I've been through, a lot of dark stuff in my life, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, that the darkest times are what makes you appreciate the lightest times. And I feel obviously now, quite a lot of time has passed. It makes me appreciate everything that I get to do
Hmm.
so much more, and it made me. It also made me appreciate like my time on season 2 that went
Yeah.
so much better and that kind of stuff, and it made me appreciate my career a lot, and even kind of going back to my partner that I was discussing, it made me appreciate my life a lot more once I got out of that darkness.
Hmm.
Because I don't really believe that you can be like truly happy unless you've been like truly devastated. Because how do
That's a
you
good point. Yeah.
know
How do you
what
know
the
what the,
antithesis is, right?
that's true.
So life.
I was so disappointed. I will tell you. I was so excited that you were on, and then I had seen Reddit rumors, and I was like, "Please don't let these Reddit rumors be true. Please don't let them be true." And then they were, and I was like, "Oh my gosh."
But kind of iconic, me and Lemon. I will say it is
True.
quite the pork chop circle,
It really is.
if I do say so myself.
So, as you know, I ask the fans to send in questions.
Okay,
Are you ready?
I think so.
I hope you're ready.
I'm nervous now.
If you were not doing drag, what would your dream job be?
Oh my gosh, my dream job. Um, I mean, I was studying graphic design, so that would probably be the job that I would be
Okay.
doing. Something in like marketing, and sort of that thing, which is why I love the job that I have because I can kind of like create it for myself. I can
Yes.
literally market myself. But I've always been really fascinated with like marketing and like artist development and that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. I just think it's really cool.
What has been your proudest accomplishment since Drag Race?
I would say getting a national cosmetics campaign. I was actually in like all of the drugstores across Canada,
So
which
cool.
was like so insane. Like literally seeing my face in like Shoppers Drug Mart and London Drugs, Canadian drugstores. um, that was just like one of those things that like I could never have imagined
Yeah.
in a million years. I could never have imagined that when I was a little kid, seeing
Hmm.
myself walking into a drugstore. And I would get messages from like my family. Like my dad was like going into the drugstore and he was like, "What is happening?" Like it was just so cool. And it was just such a like, I don't know, it was one of those moments that like I will look back on when I'm older and just like feel really, really, really proud. And it was
Hmm.
really cool. And I felt really lucky to be chosen for that, like to represent the brand.
So that happens. I want to know, when was the first time you saw it? Did you go out and look?
I
Like,
did.
you
Yeah.
did?
I was actually, yeah, I was in another city with my manager. And I was like, okay, we have to just go check Shoppers Drug Mart.
Yeah.
And I do have a video of it. And I literally just walk in and I just like put my hands on my head and I'm like crying. And it's just like, it's just so cool. Like it's
Yeah.
like not to toot my own horn, but like toot a little bit.
That's freaking iconic.
It was really, really, really cool to see.
Did you steal the
Yeah.
display?
I got sent one.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. They actually, yeah, they did send me one. So I have it in my drag room.
So cool.
Yeah.
You have said that music wasn't in the plans for Kendall Gender. What
Mm.
changed your mind, and did you enjoy the process of making the Brat Pack songs?
Yeah, music is never really something that I was like super like passionate about, or I never
Mhm.
thought that I would do in my drag career. But to be honest, after Canada's Drag Race, my like finale verse kind of went like a little viral, and I got a lot of like joy from it. And like people will literally still tag me in TikTok videos of it being like, top 20 Drag Race
Yeah.
verses of all time, which is like so cool and flattering. I was like, okay. I mean, maybe let's try
Yeah.
it out. And it all really fell into place, obviously, with the Brat Pack and my sisters. It just kind of like made sense for us to do it. Both them, have beautiful like singing voices as well. Obviously, we know from the musical, Cynthia robbed.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I will say, as someone who was in the top that week, I will say it too, honey. And yeah, it just kind of like all fell into place, and it was just something cool that like we wanted to do. And Shine's been really successful.
Yeah.
And it's a fun bop. And yeah, I don't know if it will be a forever thing. But it's really cool to sort of like get that product out into the world, and people love it.
Yeah, and
It's
you get
like,
to use your like Beyonce fantasy. You get to live it.
yes, exactly. I mean, honey, all
So
the fantasies
cool.
are Beyonce fantasies.
Did you see Beyonce?
I did.
How was it?
Beyond.
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 Beyonce.
It was amazing. I was sitting like literally like from here to like that light, basically.
Iconic.
Or standing, I should say. Like getting eye contact, the whole thing. It was like unbelievable. Yeah. Beyonce is obviously my like number one obsession.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's just something about that woman that really has gotten me through a lot. And to see her in that setting, and also like with such a queer focused environment and show, it was just so cool.
This is a very interesting one. You just won a crown. Why did you immediately go back for another one? Was it greed, or just the possibility to be the first drag queen ever to get 2 crowns?
um, I don't think that's me, bitch. I was like, did I win season 2? Oh my god. I crowns I've won. I mean, I was the Empress of Vancouver, but I
Hey.
really don't think that that's the one they're talking about. I mean, I'm flattered that you think I'm Isis.
They said that, and I literally was like, I have to put it in there. It's too good to like not put in.
She's gonna be pissed.
This is a little deep, so I'm going to give you the floor. Why do you make being mixed race your whole personality?
Oh, okay. I don't know if I necessarily make it my whole personality. I am very proud to be mixed race. I have always, really related to racial identity and expression. I think that someone that is mixed race grows up in a lot of ways not really feeling like either, and I think that therein lies a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
So for me, when I started to become a public figure, if you will, I always wanted to sort of be a representation for other people. When it comes to like understanding and development and all that kind of stuff. Like, I have been doing a show in Vancouver called Visible that, highlights and accentuates visible minorities. And I started that show in like 2017 because I felt isolated in my own community based on my racial identity, because I felt like one of very few in the city at the time. So it is a huge part of my identity, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
And I think that is the coolest thing about drag, is that it's allowed me to dive into different parts of my identity that I didn't necessarily get to express, as a kid. Like certain styles that I would see my family members wearing and that kind of stuff that I always wanted to wear, but I was, I wasn't able to. So I think I understand that this is a shady question in the way that this person worded it. I 100% I understand. But I think that the coolest thing about drag is that we get to, express the things within us that sort of lie deep.
I love that. And I think also it's all about visibility too.
It is.
Because at the end of the day, your life and your struggle or whatever it is that you want to express can help so many more people.
Yeah.
It's not about, trying to like show off or try to like do this. Like, I'm on the autism spectrum, and I talk about that a lot. And when I've talked about it, I've had so many people just reach out and be like, I see myself in you. Like, and that is a great feeling.
To be honest with you, I've I've had people come up to me in meet and greets and talk about, things that I've shared, like sobriety or my racial
Hmm.
identity and that kind of stuff. And like we've cried together. I'm a Cancer, so I'm crying all the time. But like those moments are like what makes it all worth it,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna continue to talk my shit.
Good, as you should. As we talked at the very first of this episode, you are engaged.
Ooh. Uh, uh, uh,
You have a beautiful fiance.
do you?
I want to hear about this whole process. Like, how did you guys meet? What was the tea? What was going on? And now you said what? More than 5 years?
Yeah, I think it's 6 years in January. Patch.
Yeah. And how is keeping a relationship in the gay environment as well?
Yeah, I mean, this relationship has taught me so much in my life and about my, sexuality and identity and all that kind of stuff. I mean, for many years, I identified as a gay male,
Mhm.
and my partner is trans. So when we first got together, I sort of started to become confused about my sexuality in a little bit. You know
Mm.
what I mean? I was like, what am I? Who am I? Like, I love this person and we're developing a relationship. And it was really cool because it kind of took away all of the labels and expectations that I had for myself and honestly just for the world,
Yeah.
to be honest. And it's been so cool. Like I've been with her since, day one of her transition. Like I was literally there when she like first took her hormones and all that kind of stuff. So I've seen
Wow.
I've seen everything, good and
So
bad.
when you met, was it before her transition?
Yeah, so I'd been identifying as trans,
Uh-huh.
but she hadn't, started to medically transition at all. And so I knew about it right in the beginning.
Hmm.
But it's been really cool to see the person come to fruition.
And also to be able to have that relationship to where you're experiencing something together. She
Mm.
has somebody that she can rely on. She has somebody going through this with her. And I think that that is just that's so cool to be able to have that support force.
Yeah, absolutely. She's my rock, and I hope that I'm hers in every single way. Like we've done so much together. Like she is honestly probably the reason that I got on Drag Race.
Icon.
She just helped me so much with like, preparing and feeling confident and all that kind of stuff. And she's always my like number one supporter. Whenever anyone asks her about Canada versus the world, she has like a whole spiel about it, honey. So yeah, I'm honored that I get to like share my life with her.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest misconception of Kendall gender?
I don't know, actually. What is the biggest misconception about me? I mean, what do people say? What do the kids say?
I don't know. You read the comment. Do you read the comments?
I actually don't.
You don't.
No, I'm a little bit more. I, I mean, I've touched on it a little bit. I obviously have
Mhm.
like issues with mental health and
Yeah, of
and
course.
and all of that kind of stuff. And I just decided in the beginning of this Drag Race journey that I wasn't gonna read the public comments. So I never read comments from, if an official account posts it or if it's a YouTube video or something
Okay.
like that. I don't read those comments unless it's on my own post. So I will read the stuff on my own posts and on my social media channels. And obviously bad stuff still comes
Yeah.
through. But I just believe that like even if there's 9,000 positive comments and there's one mean one, my mental state would focus on that one mean one. And I just feel like that's not where I should be getting my gratification from.
So true.
I just don't believe that it's healthy because then you're searching for all of the good comments and you're searching for the bad ones. And it just becomes this like, I don't know, kind of dangerous thing. And I need to build myself up within myself and from the people that are around me.
It's dangerous
Yeah.
because I think that one thing that I do the same. I don't read them anymore. I used to, and then it got to the point where if there was a bad one, then if I found another bad one, then I'd be like, okay, then obviously their point's valid. And I would say that to myself in my head 10
Right.
million times over.
Yeah. And I just feel like often with Drag Race and that whole like reality television spectrum, people don't necessarily think of the people on the show as people. They think of
Mm.
them as characters. you know? And I'm bad for it too. Maybe not necessarily with Drag Race because I understand a little bit more, but like me and my partner were watching like, you know, that like cake show, the
Is
like,
it cake?
Is It
Yeah,
Cake?
yeah, yeah.
And bitch, we were judging like nobody's business. I was like, oh my God, not this person not being able to make a perfect turkey dinner cake. Like, I could never do that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a very common thing. And so I understand it. But that's why I want to kind of like remove myself from it, because I don't necessarily think that they're trying to like attack me personally. They're just sort of viewing me as like a character, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Because I could see that.
yeah.
Because I do yell at the TV a lot sometimes.
Yeah, see?
See? Yeah.
This is what I'm
I just
saying.
don't go take it to the internet. That's my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, and it can be very dangerous. I see a lot of the girls, you know, on Drag Race like clapping back,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they get really, really, really frustrated and they get really mad. And I understand, you know, I've definitely like written out things that I've never posted. I just don't want to add like fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
There is you know, I promise you that there is like, you know, so many people out there that like love me and love what I do and connect with what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even if it's on, you know, maybe a smaller scale, I would rather have that connection with those people who like really are down with me. Because life is messy.
Yeah.
Life is full of mistakes. Like, I've made mistakes. I've said the wrong thing. I've done the wrong thing. But at the end of the day, that's kind of the human experience. And
It's
I'd rather
true.
ride with people that understand that instead of putting you on a pedestal.
What did you just speak? Public speaking just came out.
Speak on it.
Well, Kendall, our time is all coming to a close. I
Aw,
know.
Tiny violin.
But I do have a few questions that I ask everybody. So I would like to know, as this show is called Exposed, we have everybody that comes through, couldn't even speak that.
Coming on through.
Through, yes. We have everybody that comes through expose something that happened on their time of Drag Race that you wish would have made it to camera.
Oh, okay. Okay, I know what it is. There was a part in the roast that they ended up cutting out, and I don't know why. But in the like preliminary part, I said to Brooklyn, one of the reasons why she's so mean to me is because I think she's triggered that I remind her of Evie Oddly. And they ended up cutting it out. And I had the whole like, and they cut it out. I think Brooklyn
So
was like, nope, on that final edit. But that would have been good. That would have been good. Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you have coming down the pipeline? What's coming up next for you?
Ooh, in the next couple months, I'm actually going on my very first solo tour in Canada,
Exciting.
which is really cool. The last couple times I toured Canada, I did it obviously with the Drag Race tour and with the Brat Pack. So this will be the first time I actually get to like step out on my own. And yeah, the tour is called Kennaissance.
Okay.
So it's you know, a little bit of Renaissance, a little bit of Kenny, and like sort of like amalgamation of both. And yeah, I'm really excited. So we're sort of right in the process of working that out right now.
So are
It'll be
you
cool, though.
fully and creative wise?
Oh yeah, no, I'm so A-type.
Yeah.
I need to be in charge of that. I am. And it's I feel like it's gonna be really cool. You know, I have a like graphic design background, so I do like all my own visuals and sort
So
of creative
cool.
thing in that way. So it's gonna be like a fully immersive experience. It's gonna be cool. I'm excited.
Guess I'll have to use my visa to come.
Oh
Or
yeah,
my-
honey.
my-
We'll
yeah.
fly you out.
Yeah, we'll get it. And I'll
You have
be
a Canadian
front row.
visa now.
Yeah, my Canadian, what do you call it? A Canadian citizenship, I guess you would
Oh,
say.
that's a
Yes.
step in a totally
It's a totally different direction.
I love
Yes.
that. Well, welcome, eh?
Yeah, and I was very excited because you know how they, on those certificates, they end up like the Queen of England or whoever is
Okay, yeah.
signs it.
I mean,
So it's
probably
fake.
not
It's
recently.
not real. But literally, I got it like a week before she died. So I was like,
Oh,
oh, it doesn't say Prince Charles.
memorabilia.
Yeah. And my last question for you is, what is a message that you have for our LGBTQIA plus community?
I sort of touched on this a couple of times, honestly, but know that you are honestly not alone and your experiences are not isolating. It's something that I still struggle with to this day, so I'm not saying I'm like a perfect person by any means, but there is so much success in knowing that there is a parallel between something that you went through and something that someone else is going through.
Mm.
So that's why I share all of the good and the bad about my life, because I want to make sure that if someone is going through something even like remotely similar to anything I've struggled with, that they know that like it exists out in the world,
Yeah.
because that saves lives. Visibility and connection in that sense really does save lives.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Well, thank you so much, Kendall, for being here and chatting with me.
This was lovely.
Where can everybody find you on the socials?
Ooh, at Kendall Gender or some sort of iteration of such things. I
Okay.
feel like I'm a social media girl, so come check me out.
Oh. Well, until next time, I'm Joseph Shepard, and that's the fabulous Kendall Gender. We'll see you. Bye.
Now we got to record TikToks.
Yes.
Speaking
TikTok.
of.